It's an honor to join all of you for this 50th anniversary of the Iowa Soybean Association. It is pretty amazing to think how much agriculture has changed since that time, and how the Iowa Soybean Association has played such a lead role in developing new markets and new products from the soybeans that we raise in Iowa. In fact, we've seen tremendous growth in agriculture innovation, and we continue to be the breadbasket of the world.
And my friend Susan Dawson says it's okay to look back, but don't stare. And I think that's just, y'all know that. You're going to pat yourselves on the back today and for a few days about how great the last 50 years have been, about the things you have accomplished, the differences you have made in this state and frankly in this country and around the world. But you are not going to stare. You're going to be looking forward. You're going to be leading because that's who you are. That's what we count on in agriculture. We count on you to be that.
You might be able to say that we have had an impact, but we've had an impact on a very short period of time. But my goodness, what an impact we have had. Could you think of any generations at any time in the past that have ever changed the world as much as you have?
In '77, there was a small drought in central Iowa, and my corn and my soybeans both made 31 bushels per acre. And farmers with crops like Ray were paying list price for machinery.
Yeah.
It was extremely expensive to operate, and I was totally on borrowed money because it was my third year of farming. So '77 hurt a lot. I lost money that I didn't really have.
We really got along okay until about the fall of 1984, 1985. You know, our debt was not terrible, but our land values and our equipment values kept going down. And you know, in 1981, we thought we had a reasonable net worth, and by 1985, it was negative. And even though we hadn't done anything different and we were paying our bills, it was a real struggle. And I shared with you that. You know, at that time, we decided that, and our bank decided that we couldn't function, you know, with the bank, that we needed to have some help, and we went to FHA for about 4 or 5 years. It was humiliating.
Talking to neighbors and talking to other farmers, that many of them were upside down on their farms too. But we absolutely positively had to have soybeans succeed as a crop if we were ever going to be prosperous in agriculture again. There was no other way except through soybeans. So I put efforts into that, knowing that I was going to get back in.
But in 1989 is when, and it bothers me a little. In 1989, I remember in the fall, we had just leased a new John Deere tractor because we had lots to do. And the song came on, "I'm Still Standing." Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's when I finally acknowledged that we were going to make it.
We've assembled a great team here at ISA, and this is just a small representation of the senior leadership that really make ISA work like a finely oiled machine. So over the last year or so, we've had a task force of farmer leaders and senior leaders here on staff to work on a new strategic plan. We did an exhaustive, what we called environmental scan, looking at all those things that can influence the soy complex, whether it's agronomic, whether it's international. And there are lots of those outside influences. And then what can we do about it at Iowa Soybean Association, and how can we influence those things?
So where have we come in the last 25 years? It is a story of nearly unbroken growth. Consider that since 1989, we have seen the total value of the U.S. soybean crop quadruple from $11 billion to more than $40 billion. We have seen global soybean production skyrocket from 104 million metric tons to production in excess of 310 million metric tons. And U.S. production has doubled from 50 million metric tons to over 100 million metric tons. And who could have imagined back in 1989 that we would be knocking on the door of a 4 billion bushel U.S. soybean crop? But it has also been a time of change. In 1990, the U.S. exported under 40% of the crop overseas. Today, that number is approaching 60%. 60% of a much larger production. And it goes without saying that in 1989, China was only a market that we dreamed about. Today, as you know, they are the dominant market for soybeans produced all over the world. Again, who would have thought this small-town boy, the son of a meat cutter, who graduated with a degree in political science from Iowa State University in 1983, because he found some interest in China, took a couple of classes on Chinese history. Who would have thought that someday he would travel to China more than 15 times to help build demand for Iowa soybeans? What a ride indeed.
I've traded commodities for 40 years, farmed, been a commodity broker for 38 years. I've learned a lot of things that work. I've tried a lot of things that don't work. And I'm going to go through market outlook, touch briefly on the complex farm program, and then kind of look at some of the data I put together specifically for this meeting in terms of the long-term outlook for agriculture.
But what's so fascinating right now is I think we're in a period of time where there's never been such pressure and such opposing pressures on the world food system. I don't think it's about being able to produce massive amounts. I think it's about being able to deliver to the consumer what she or he wants. And as disposable incomes rise, there seems to be a greater purchasing power and want of this Western lifestyle, or want of different options.
Because of all of our success and productivity, less than 1% of the folks in this country, are directly involved in farming and agriculture. And that means we have a tremendous responsibility and an obligation to reach out to that other 99%. And that's going to be absolutely critical, not only for our own freedom to operate, but to address in the future the policies and the decisions that will influence the tools and capabilities that we can bring to to a food secure world.
But as we look forward, we see this clear driver here being a normalization of grain production margins. And that's going to force capital allocation decisions and priority by farmers. And we believe farmers will first allocate capital to the top and the bottom of their balance sheet. They're going to continue to invest in input and production costs, as well as control of land, grain storage, livestock facilities. So it'll be that middle section of their balance sheet where they're going to look for different alternatives.
A lot of those who doubt what biotechnology can deliver want something with benefits to others, benefits to others than farmers, but benefits to not only the environment, but also to the consumer. And so here we've got products that are in the marketplace today that do just that. And we need to do collectively, and again this sort of comes back to collaboration, we need to work collectively to ensure that those products are accepted, and we have the opportunity to adopt those products broadly so that the benefits to the consumer are realized both in the United States and throughout the world.
What I am concerned about is where we have social and political barricades to the progress of this technology. When we have some bureaucrat someplace in the world telling every single one of the Iowa and U.S. farmers what they can't and cannot grow, that bothers me, because advancing technology and advancing our genetics and making higher yielding crops, when it's controlled somewhere in the world by a bureaucrat or a politician, whether it be for political purposes or philosophical purposes, that bothers me. And frankly, I don't know how to take care of that. I'm extremely pleased that we have groups like the American and the Iowa Soybean Association to help address that for we farmers, to give us a little more clout in that respect.
You are not only leaders in our industry, but as all of you have said, we appreciate the partnership and the collaboration with the Iowa Soybean Association. You're all four of you, individually and at the company level, are good friends and great supporters of the association. So I would like a second round of applause for all you do to support the Iowa Soybean Association. Thank you.